This is going to be the video on security in the database. So, security is a complex topic. It involves things like network security, where you place your databases. It involves backups, log shipping, failover details. It also involves file management, RAID systems, but we're only going to look at one aspect of database. We're going to look at roles and permissions. So in PostgreSQL, roles are the same as users. Before you define roles, it's really important to be clear about what types of users there are and what the database permissions for each type of user who needs to do our job. In our database, we will have roles for members, employees, and suppliers, at least for a start. I'm going to get up Notepad. All right. The general rule is that a user should have all the permissions they need to do the work that they need to do, but no more. So there are different kinds of permissions. One kind of permission, actually, let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's make it about 20. Okay. Select is the permission to look at something. So you have to have a select permission even to see something, right? Update is a permission to change something that already exists. It's a dangerous permission. You should be careful with that. Then there's insert, right? That's a permission to add something. And these permissions are almost always table specific. There's also delete. Whoa, what did I just do? So let's do delete. I need to get the script back up over here. Okay, which is permission to remove something. Now there are other permissions that we're not going to talk about much. And those are create, which allows you to add objects, alter, which allows you to change objects being things like tables and views, and drop is the ability to drop objects. Okay, so those are what permissions basically look like SQL commands that you're allowed to do or not do. So let's go back to PGAdmin. We're going to create a view for members. All right. So one of the things I want to show you is down here there are roles. Right. So you have different roles: employee role, member role. I don't think those are in these are probably, I'm going to just look at the properties of it. Definition, privileges, membership. All right, I am going to, all right, so this is on climate change. So we'll ignore that one for now. But you can see that there are roles down here. These I made, but these are and Postgres is the default role, and then there are other kinds of roles here. We're going to make our own role for Farm Co-op, and I'm going to do it with SQL. So I am going to create a new, get a new query tool. And what we want to do is we want to create a role. It's really simple. You actually just say create role and give it a name. And I'm going to call it, in the thing it calls it member role, I'm going to call it member role co-op, which is different than the script, but that's because I already have a member role for a different database. So I'm going to run that, and notice it returned it successfully. And if you were to refresh your roles, you would see that there is a member role co-op. Now this member role is empty. It does nothing. So we're going to give it some permissions. We're going to grant select on person. So again, these don't have to be capped, but so on the person table, to member role. So we grant select on person to the member role. So I'm going to do member role co-op. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing to a couple of others. I'm not going to give all the permissions that they would need because it would just take too long. Though you should really make like a table, a chart of all the permissions that each person would need. So I'm going to do a select on co-op member to member role co-op. In fact, I'm going to copy this because we're just doing selects, and I'm going to do the next one to inventory. So we're just giving a couple of just to give a sense of how these would work. Now, if you wanted to grant an update, you could do, you could add, let's say that we want to allow them, this isn't in the script, but let's say we want them to be able to update person. You could just do, so now they have both of those permissions on co-op role. I'm going to execute that. Okay, so those are all free. So if we look at member role co-op, and we look at the properties, and we look at definition and privileges, so inherit rights from, that's all it has. Membership, no members yet. Parameters, security, SQL, there's nothing there. Doesn't tell a lot, but the role has been created and it has these things. All right, so we have these permissions. And what I want to do now is to create a role for one of the users. So I'm going to do Sue Nelson. So I'm going to create a role. This role is a little different. This is what a lot of things would call a user. I'm going to call it Sue Nelson. And it's going to have with password. Right, that means it's a login role basically. And I'm just going to do P at SSW0RD1. It's my usual password. And we also give it the attribute login. Okay, so that creates a role with a login called Sue Nelson. Okay, again we did that, and if we refresh on roles, we can see that there is a Sue Nelson role down at the bottom. You won't have all of these roles because you haven't been making them, but Now, Sue Nelson can do nothing but log in. She has no permissions on anything. So one of the things we're going to do is we are going to grant member role co-op to Sue Nelson. So what that'll do is that it will make her a member of the role co-op, and she will have these permissions. So I am going to run this. Okay, and now she should have the permissions to do these things. So what I'm going to do, and if we look under member co-op now and look at the properties again, and if we look under membership, well, I don't know, these things don't really show much. Let's look under Sue Nelson. Definition, privileges, she does have a login, she inherits rights. Membership, that shows the membership co-op. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test her things, and I'm going to right click on my server, and I am going to disconnect the server. And then I'm going to right click on it and do properties, and under the connection, instead of Postgres, I am going to do Sue Nelson, and we're going to save that, and then I'm going to reconnect the server, and it needs to know Sue Nelson's password, which should be p@ssw0rd1, and I do OK. Okay, so I have all of this. I'm going to do another query tool for that. Notice that it says Sue Nelson up here, right? So we are connected with Sue Nelson. So if I do select star from person, I should be able to see all the persons because I have that permission. But I didn't do select star from supplier. I didn't give that permission, so that should give me permission denied, right? And if I try to update co-op member, set start date equal, I don't know, 2020 10, what is today, 18, where member ID equals 1. Okay, so assuming that I got the field names right, start date is wrong. So let's look at start date. Let's look at the fields. So co-op member, columns, last renewed. Okay. Again, it's not a danger to do this because permission is denied. All right, and then to go back to where you were before, you do the same process. You disconnect the server, go into properties, connection, go back to Postgres or whatever your default user is, and then save. And then you can reconnect and go to the connection Well, we need to give it connect server. There we go. P at SSW0RD1. Okay, and I'm reconnected as Postgres. Okay, so that is the video on basic roles, setting up roles in Postgres for security.